Right now, join us on the program, Congressman from the great state of Arizona, Paul Gosar is with us. Representative, thanks for your time, sir.
Oh, thank you always, Cam.
Well, it's great talking to you again. Unfortunately, the news not good out of Mexico, where again we've got another law enforcement agent killed because of Operation Fast and Furious, and you have been I think a tough critic of the Attorney General and Operation Fast and Furious, as well as the lack of the lack of accountability that we've seen from this administration regarding this operation. You, in fact, have called for the resignation or the ouster of Attorney General Holder, have you not?
Absolutely. I've got a resolution on the floor that we're circulating that now has 136 members of Congress on it, that we've lost confidence in the Attorney General to uphold the rule of law, and it's time to go.
It seems to me like there would be no shortage of reasons why folks might want to sign on to this, but is this specifically because of Fast and Furious, or are we now seeing some of your colleagues say, that was problematic, that was troublesome, but issue X is what broke the straw that broke the camel's back for me?
Well, I don't care what people point to. Mm-hmm. This, for me, was a start of not upholding the rule of law and being transparent and holding people accountable for total violation of the rule of law. And we expect more from the Attorney General to do such. And I'm a little bit befuddled to not know why we don't see more Democrats sign on to this. I don't care if it's just Fast and Furious or if it's the AP scandal and James Rosen. But obviously we've got an Attorney General not doing his job as upholding the rule of law. And I always tell them, I said, listen, if you and I had done what this Attorney General has done, we've been in jail and the key's thrown away.
We have, this ongoing lawsuit regarding the documents, 1,800 documents that the administration is withholding right now. With every one of these new headlines, it seems to me representative that the excuses given by this administration for why the American people and why members of Congress in particular, members of the House Oversight Committee, can't do their job by getting access to these documents, it seems like every one of these arguments just becomes more and more absurd.
It absolutely is. We as an equal partner in the triad of our government, the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, we have an equal standing. And the whole checks and balances, we have to have access to the facts and the information. And this administration, more than any other, has clouded that by hiding behind what they assume to be the law. And that's inappropriate. What we want to do is we want to be able to hold people accountable because more in our realm, Cam, if we don't hold political appointees to the letter of law, then we hold no one to the letter of the law.
Do you anticipate, Congressman, any developments in the lawsuit that's taking place right now?
I do. It's early on. We're actually in the court case. I expect that the court to do its job and give that information over to Congress to do its job in oversight. I think some of the initial findings, or at least some of the dialogue going on between the Attorney General's office, DOJ, and the judge, shows some great promise. I have to look back and being persistent. I've got to constantly be on message on this because we have to follow through and hold the court to the same accountability that we as members of Congress are held as and accountable, as well as any member of our Constitution.
The president today, in an address on how to improve government efficiency, once again made the comment that the government is us. Congressman, I got to say, as a member of the NRA and as a gun owner, I've been accused of a lot of, pretty horrible things over the past 6 or 7 months. But I didn't put guns in the hands of drug cartel members in Mexico. I didn't sign off on this operation. I didn't approve of it. I didn't try to cover it up. But my government did. And
Yep.
So with all due respect to the president, the government is not always us. We have a government of, for, and by the people, but that means we have to have a government that is accountable to the people as well.
Absolutely. And what you see is, the promise that we were going to have the most transparent administration in the history of America is a farce. That's an outright lie. I don't candy code anything, and I don't candy code how I feel in regards to how justice is being administered in this country. Justice should be like Triad, my friend says, is a lady who's blindfolded. She doesn't see who justice is coming to. She's got a set of scales that she's weighing the facts given to her. And she's got a sword that once she gets those facts, she gives it, on the spot, gives justice forward that way. Tell me what part of that is legislative. And we've got an administration and we've got a Department of Justice who is actually enforcing a legislation or creating legislation on their behalf. That's ludicrous.
Well,
and I think particularly on this weekend that we just came off the 4th of July, we need to get back in touch with the constitutional aspects of our framers, and that is an equal balanced approach of the law and making sure people are held accountable. I mean, it's absurd.
And it seems to me like the person who has received probably the most punishment or the most punishment, the whistleblowers who actually called attention to these abuses, guys like John Dodson.
Absolutely, and you wondered why people in Benghazi didn't want to come forward. It's because of the treatment of John Dodson. This is horrific. We have given protection to whistleblowers. We want to have government, to get back to accountability for and by the people. But that's the triad, because as elected officials, we are the people's voice in holding the administration accountable. Now what we have to do is we have to feign and hope that the courts follow through with this. But more importantly, I think that we need to hold as an example the Attorney General, who is a poor impersonator of law enforcement, and make sure that he's held to the same accountability. And then I think a lot of the rest of government will start to fall in line. We need somebody else to be put in that position to clean up the mess.
Well, listen, Congressman, I appreciate you coming on the program this afternoon. Please come back anytime, sir.
Well, I appreciate it, Cam. And, how many more lives are going to be lost before we have accountability? I want to hear Democrats and independents coming forward ask for the same accountability that we as Republicans are asking for, the accountability for the loss of lives for these guns.
Absolutely. Congressman Paul Gosar joins us from Arizona here on NRA News, Cam and Company. Congressman, thanks again, sir.
Bye-bye.